So I said the scariest man alive is Francis Ngannou. I said last week the baddest man on the planet. I think it's the Predator. I think it's Francis Ngannou. Love the storyline, love the build-up, but we know hype when we see it. We know a narrative when we see it, and we know when the UFC is trying to push and market a fight. And this is what that was. You can't blame anybody for that, AJ. But let's be honest here. From round 1 to round 5, there was maybe one moment in the fight where I was a little worried for Francis Ngannou. And this was, I think, maybe beginning of round 2, whatnot. Just kind of watching the fight and seeing like, okay, Ngannou's getting a little flat-footed, looking a little tired, and it doesn't seem like the power is working against a Cyril Gane. However, Gane ran into the same problem that Stipe did, where those openings, you don't really have them against Ngannou. Like, you could try to land the big shot, but the last thing you want to do is engage in the firefight against Ngannou. So what do? You say, okay, well, I'm going to push you up against the cage, or I'm going to, do this, or I'm going to do that, or whatever the case may be. But it didn't really work against Ngannou. And folks who are watching the visual, I do apologize because I misspelled the champion's name. There's not 2 G's in his last name. It's only 1. So I apologize about that. Got to give respect to the champ, which I feel like nobody's been giving him respect. So this is why, you know what I'm saying? But ultimately, right, was there any point in this fight where you really thought, okay, Cyril Gane is about to take over? Like, was there any point in that fight?
Man, I was real worried at the beginning of round 2. The first round was fun,
Yeah.
but even my second note is Ngannou looked tired in the second, man. He was looking real tired, a little flat-footed, breathing heavy, open mouth breathing too, so he didn't look that good. And honestly, his confidence in his eyes weren't really there like we've seen. The Predator has this look when he's fighting, he's in a scrap. This one, he was kind of looking a little bit back, a little bit taken back. I was honestly a little bit worried because it was very much a Cyril Gane fight through the first and the second.
Yeah.
Very touch and go, very, point oriented. Ngannou was never able to land that big power that we were expecting to. So I thought with each moment passing by, it was looking better and better for Cyril Gane, man. I was a little worried, I'm not going to lie to you, Derek, but thankfully it was able to pull out in the way we were predicting. And it was crazy because from third round on, that's where Ngannou really started to show up, man. It had an amazing third round, steals it with the points on the takedowns. Very impressive from the third round on. But honestly, that first round 1 and round 2, I was a little nervous, man. I was getting a little bit worried. I was figuring this was going to be an interesting one going in. Hopefully it doesn't go to decision, but even if it does, we'll see, because it was very much a Cyril Gane fight, point style in the beginning. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you to a degree, right? I like I said, I was just never really worried. Like, for a split second, I said the only thing that could beat Ngannou is his own cardio. That's the only thing that could beat him. The punches of Cyril Gane, though. Like, have we ever seen Ngannou hurt? Never.
No.
Never really. I've seen him get, like, in the beginning of his career, get, like, put off balance, rocked a little bit by a jab or something like that. But you've never really seen him like, oh my God, he's hurt, right? And that's what I'm saying. None of these fighters, even a Cyril Gane, was really able to do that to him. But I do agree. I was like, why is he fighting Gane's fight? Like, Ngannou needs to walk forward the whole time. But when he decided, I think this could be the little bit of experience that he's had with Gane, though, already feeling his movement and saying, okay, I know this is going to be a little bit of a longer fight. I'm going to try to get him out of there. But if I can't get him out of there, we're going to be a little more well-rounded. So when you see Francis Ngannou catch Cyril Gane's kick, something that a lot of fighters can't do, right? And just basically power blast this man, flip him onto his head. I mean, from that point on, I said, okay, you don't want a Francis Ngannou on top of you. And what's incredible is because there was one exchange in this fight, AJ, where Cyril Gane actually went for some type of heel hook, right? But what do the commentators say? Look at Cyril Gane sitting back for the heel hook. No. That's not what happened, right? Because they're saying that basically, like, Cyril Gane went for the heel hook and then ended up getting reversed. That's not what happened. Actually, Francis Ngannou showed off a little bit of his jiu-jitsu, man. He hit Cyril Gane with a scissor sweep, reversed the position on the man, and then Cyril Gane said, okay, well, I'm in this spot. Let me then sit back and try to go for this heel hook, right? So I'm like, okay, listen, man, you got to give Francis Ngannou some credit right there for the jiu-jitsu chops, man, for the ability to reverse positions. And I'll tell you what, like a monster like Francis Ngannou, I'm telling you, him knowing how to do jiu-jitsu legitimately, man, there's some techniques that just will not work against him. And you saw Cyril Gane try to lock up a Kimura against Ngannou, and Ngannou didn't even look worried. He was just like, with his big-ass arm, just sitting there, he was like, okay, let me put this arm down. Like, you're not. And there's times too where like I'll have a dude against me who I just know I'm a little bit bigger than. You know what I mean? I know that I'm a little stronger. Trying to get that arm bar, and you're looking at it, and you're like, you're not grabbing that arm, though. I'm not letting you fully extend my arm. It's not going to happen. You just sometimes power does outweigh technical proficiency. Unfortunately, that is the reality of of nature. And Francis Ngannou coming in at what, 257, even though he wasn't at his biggest, he had 10 pounds, and you'd imagine come fight night he had more than that probably on Ciryl Gane. So I just think that this was a very, very well-rounded, impressive performance by Francis Ngannou. But I wanted to ask you, what did we learn about Ciryl Gane in this fight?
Man, we learned that this dude, he's the real deal, and I genuinely believe he's the future of the division coming forward. He's only 11 fights in. This dude is young, man. 11 fights, and he's already fought for the title. He was interim champion, even if that's debated whether he should have been there or not. Regardless, this dude's at the pinnacle of the sport, and he's going to be here for a long time. I think this is one of those fights that, sure, it was an L, but it's more of a lesson than a loss, and I think he's going to take very serious thought into how he approaches his next fight, because everybody knows that the attacks, the fluid style, the point style that he likes to fight, that's there, and that's very dangerous. But imagine if this dude could also have the ground game, have the grappling, have the wrestling, have that top pressure. If he would have done better, because he did get that last takedown in the 5th round against Francis Ngannou, but Ngannou saw the opportunity to present himself, and like you said, hit him with that scissor sweep, got on top. Imagine if Ciryl Gane knew what was going on, didn't do that, ended up tapping out the champ. Man, that'd be crazy, and I do think that's kind of where the fighting style of Gane needs to go, man. We learned he's amazing on the feet. He knows how to switch it up, whether he's just tapping you, keeping you busy, scoring those points, or actually driving in and hurting you with those kicks, with those punches. But now if we can see him evolve into a full, well-rounded mixed martial artist, this dude's going to be around for a very long time. Like I said, man, young in the game, only 11 fights in. This dude has a lot of potential to be going for a very long time in the UFC. I do think he will see champ eventually, but I mean, the Predator is unmatched right now, man. Francis Ngannou showing up, showing out, and actually doing the biggest kind of performance we've ever seen him have, man, with the full mix of everything. Whether he's dumped people on takedowns, like you said, ignoring the Kimura, or even just hitting sweeps, hitting the turnarounds, getting on top, showing that he's very, very smart. I think with that aspect of that fight that he just had against Ciryl Gane's going to take that, learn from it, and we're going to see something incredible from this dude coming forward, man. What do you think?
I agree with you. So I agree with you in its totality, man. Really, I think that Ciryl Gane is the future of the division as well. Like I said in the beginning of the show, I do think he will be the heavyweight champion at some point in his career, especially if Francis decides to walk. I just don't see, besides Stipe or John Jones just kind of inserting themselves, I don't see who can really compete with the Ciryl Gane right now. Because like I said, he was able to take the power of Ngannou, take the man to 5 rounds. I mean, yeah, you ended up losing via wrestling, right? So it goes to show, in terms of being on the feet, man, fighting your fight, making anybody in the division fight your fight. He even had made Francis fight his fight in the beginning until Francis said, I'm tired of this. I'm just going to slam you because I'm a huge specimen of a human being. So, like I said, shout out to both of these fighters. Once again, y'all must have forgot Francis Ngannou. I don't understand how we just forget so quickly. I get it. What have you done for me lately? But really, come on. And I'm going to be honest with you, AJ. I hedged my bet this weekend, man, and I threw in a little parlay on Ngannou and Figueiredo winning the both of their respective fights, bro. It was incredible plus money on those odds, man. So it's one of those where you have to. Like, you're dumb not to. It ended up working out, man. Made my money there. Terrible picks, but I made my money there. All right, AJ, brother. So rapid fire. A couple questions for you. I just want you to give a quick succession, okay? First one. Is Ciryl Gane the proverbial Francis Ngannou in this situation where, like, Francis Ngannou versus Stipe #1? Francis lost definitively, but he came back with a vengeance, learned so much, and basically has been on a tear ever since then. We're not counting the Derek Lewis fight, right? Is Ciryl Gane the Francis Ngannou proverbially in this situation? Like, do you think he bounces back from this loss and just goes on a tear?
Oh, 100%, man. I do not want to be, I would not want to be the fighter that has to fight Ciryl Gane next, man, especially going in, having to deal with that, especially if he learns and grows. Yeah, I do think he's the proverbial, in that same spot that Francis Ngannou is. We can only have a devastating loss like that and not get better. So I think that's exactly where Ciryl Gane is lining up to be. Like I said before, we're going to see him for a long time here in the future. Yeah,
man. So one of the things that I thought was interesting is it just reminded me of what Calvin Kattar said to Giga Chikadze after he beat him in their fight. He says, listen, man, there's nothing you can do now. All you can do is make the next man pay. And like you said, I would not want to be the next man to fight Ciryl Gane. I'll just put that out there. Okay, AJ, next question I got for you. Is this the last fight of Francis Ngannou's UFC career?
Ooh, Ooh, it might be, Derek. It might be. He even gave the boxing shout at the end. We saw Uncle Dana not put the belt around him. There's some shade being thrown. I don't know, man. This is looking like we might see the end of the Predator on a dub too.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be crazy to see that. I don't think that's actually going to be the case, but there's a little bit more behind the story than is being let out, man. I'm very curious as to why Dana didn't put the belt around him. He didn't even want to be in the cage, man.
Yeah.
He knew what was going on, threw in the shade that Uncle Dana likes to throw. And then with the fact that Francis Ngannou said that he always has boxing in his back pocket, it's leading a little bit more towards me thinking that it might be Francis that's pulling the plug, saying, I'll take the championship and I'll dip just like Triple C, just like GSP, just like all the other greats out there that have done that. We might. What do you think?
It's tough because I do think that if they can get some contract negotiations going, I mean, there's nobody who's going to say no to the right amount of money, right? Because I think that's some of the stipulations Ngannou is tired of. He wants amount of money, he wants some respect, he wants just a couple stipulations taken care of because he's the champion and you shouldn't be fighting for $600,000, which is what his reported payout was tonight when you were a champion, when you were the caliber of an athlete that Francis Ngannou is, because he is a star athlete, legitimately, right? But we'll see, man. I'm really not too sure. I just think that we have to let it play out, let the situation play out a little bit. Next question for you, AJ. Do you think that the UFC, the company, the brass, not just Dana White, but the brass, wanted Cyril Gane to win this fight? Do you think that they were trying to set this up to be like, okay, whatever, Francis, we're the UFC, we don't need you, we have a new champion anyways? Do you think that was kind of the case?
I think so, man. I think there was definitely some shade being thrown around there. I think that the entire UFC wanted Cyril Gane to win, nonetheless to face Dana White. So, yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. I hate when people play favorites like that or play sides. Like, you should just be faithful to everyone because you're employing them all. They're technically all your contracted employees. So, yeah, it's a little shady, to be honest with you, but I do think they wanted Cyril Gane to win for sure. What do you think?
You know what, man? I'm not sure because I want to say yes because of just the way that they were hyping him up. Cyril Gane was the new shiny toy, the next hot thing. Oh, look at the sparring footage. Look at it. He's fucking up Francis. He could do anything that he wants. Ferdinand Lopez talking about, yeah, man, he hit him with whatever he wanted to. Da-da-da-da-da. It goes to show it's just different. Sparring and fighting are two different things, man. They're just two different things, man. So I'm not sure, but I'm going to lean on the side of saying yes. And the last thing that I have on this one, if Francis Ngannou does indeed walk from the UFC, what is the story of his UFC career? Like, historically, is he a Hall of Fame fighter? Is he, like, where are we looking at? And let's just take a look real fast at the tape, right? Francis Ngannou, 17-3 in his MMA career. We're looking at it. First decision win against Cyril Gane, but knocks out Stipe, knocks out Rosenstruck, Junior Dos Santos, Cain Velasquez, Curtis Blades, Alistair Overeem, Andrei Arlovsky, Anthony Hamilton. Curtis Blades twice, right? The only losses he has on his career in the UFC are against Stipe and against Derek Lewis, and we're looking down, and this is the second win of his fight of his entire career right there. You have a loss, but overall, man, when we're looking at the knockouts, 11 knockouts, 5 submissions, 1 decision, and in the UFC, it looks like he is 12-2 in the UFC. He has 1 title defense to his name, but what is the story of a Francis Ngannou at the pinnacle of his career, at the end of the totality of his career, if he does walk?
Yeah, it's rough because I don't necessarily wouldn't consider him a Hall of Fame fighter, even though I do think he has that potential and he has that caliber. I think he just needs to just stay a little bit more active. It was a year since the last time we saw him fight, so it's rough to say that he's in there, with some of the greats. Although he's beaten a lot of the greats, man. He's beaten the Alistair Overeems, the Stipe Miocic, those kind of fighters who we do hold in very, very high regard. And unfortunately, I don't know why, but Francis doesn't get the same kind of respect. It's crazy to say. He really doesn't, though. He really gets a lot of the snub. He doesn't get the respect he deserves, and I think it's a little bit both from maybe the conversations they were having behind closed doors. That's why the media doesn't really promote him enough. But even for this fight, he wasn't promoting himself. He wasn't promoting himself enough. Nonetheless, just the fight. So I think he just needs to stay a little bit busier.
Yeah.
Where is his tenure lie right now? I do think he's one of the dangerous and scariest mans in the world and the planet, fighting for sure. But that's not necessarily the highest acumen he has in his potential. I do think he can go a little bit further, but right now he's just dangerous and scary, not necessarily the greatest.
I do think that you probably have to give him the Hall of Fame nod, given just the status of the Hall of Fame right now. You know what I mean? Dudes like Kevin Randleman, you know, he's in there, right? And, you know, respect to the legend, the beast that is Kevin Randleman. Rest in peace on that one. But I just think that, like, given the knockouts that he's had, non-title fight related, just because Stipe and DC did hold up the heavyweight division for years, right? Let's not forget that. I think that these Hall of Fame credentials are pretty much there, especially, you know, now you have the championship, you defended it once. But I would, to be like that legit, like, oh, are you a GOAT? Are you one of the best heavyweights of all time? Yeah, you need a couple more title defenses, because John Jones has what, like 11 title defenses, 15 title, something ridiculous, right? So until then, John Jones is pretty much the GOAT, man. But hey, listen, and still, brother, that's what we got to say about that. Francis Ngannou, he got the dub.